how extraordinary to be with such extraordinary women sitting to my right. And without further ado, the woman who really holds all of us designers together, as president of the CFDA, as a mentor who really understands the woman and the woman's body, wrapped it all up and created the wrap dress. Diane is designer, mother, grandmother, and most importantly, she cares. And I think it would be so beautiful to hear about her extraordinary commitment that she has made and to help inspire all of us here in the audience, including myself, of how we can all make that difference that's important to each and every one of us. Diane?
Inside every woman is an enormous, enormous well of strength. And always when something bad happens, something really, a tragedy happens, it's always the woman who brings her strength out and who somehow takes care of the situation. So in my life, when I first started as a young girl, I did not know the woman, I did not know what I wanted to do really, but I knew the kind of woman that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a woman who was free, a woman who could take care of herself and who would ride her own bus. To be a woman in our Western society is a lot easier than in a lot of other societies. But I think that we are obliged to first make sure that ourselves, we feel secure about who we are secure about our own health, about our own strength, and once we have that, then we can pass it on. I have embraced, I heard about Vital Voices, which is a wonderful organization that originally was started by Hillary Clinton when she was the First Lady. And it is no longer governmental. And what it does is that it helps women leaders all around the world and empowers them, gives them, trains them, gives them political help, legislative help, financial help, and it's an incredible organization. I am very committed to that organization, as I am very committed to a lot of women's organizations. And I do think that it is our duty, and the only chance to save the world is for women to save the world. And I think it starts with ourselves first, and then next door, and next door, and next door, to make women feel strong. I mean, you could be strong and be humble, but just be in charge. And yes, together we can save the world.
I've had really an eclectic life, an extraordinary life as an African-American woman who grew up in the world of no. No, you can't do this. No, you're not allowed to go there. I think I defied all the odds because when anyone tells me no, that means yes, I am going to do it. Growing up just outside of Chicago in a little town called Maywood, Illinois, where I then became a violinist, got very involved in the arts, played with Chicago Youth Symphony, Chicago Civic Symphony, went on to the University of Illinois, studied with Paul Rowland, part of the Illinois String Research Project, started a music conservatory for Queen Noor and King Hussein of Jordan. Then from there went into Act Two of my life, still playing the violin and conducting orchestras, but also a founding partner for Black Entertainment Television. And that was an extraordinary journey for me, one of trying to give a voice to African Americans. It was a tough job. It is still going on. I think it is a channel that still needs a lot of work. I think we have squandered an exceptional opportunity there, especially bringing the voices of women. I really believe in women's empowerment. For the past 5 years, I've been a global ambassador for CARE, where I've traveled with Dr. Helene Gale all over the world, and I've seen the atrocities that women have been exposed to, from rape to trafficking. You cannot believe what is going on out there. I also worked with Ernie Allen with missing and exploited children, where I partnered up with Microsoft to really be able to get into the networks of the perpetrators of sexual trafficking, where we've been able to make arrests. You have no idea the victimization of women that is going on across the world. I've been there and watched water come up online, and it's been extraordinary to see the tears of women who have been so happy that they can get water in their own villages and not fear for their lives, getting up at 2 in the morning to go to a nearby stream to get water so that they can wash clothes, so that they will be able to drink, so they could help give birth in a healthy way. And these sort of things have just broken my heart and have just really made me a real advocate for women. So through CARE, I started the I Am Powerful campaign, where we've been able to raise $12 million that have gone into the villages and the communities for women. And it's making an extraordinary difference, teaching them how to set up village savings and loan. Now, of course, I chair Parsons School of Design. I do not like to just do one-off things. I believe in connecting the dots. So in connecting the dots, I brought Parsons into CARE, where we send the students down there, we send faculty down, and they're in Guatemala. I also send the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which I sit on the board. I have students there in Mozambique and Ghana. I want them all to join me in what I am doing and trying to make a difference for women in the world, both young men and young women. I send to these, I give out grants to send kids so that they can understand that they need to get out of their own world and live outside and understand how they can really reach out and change the lives of many.
The reason, I started Jimmy Choo, well, first of all, was for my love of fashion, but also it was a real drive for my independence. I didn't want to be looked after by a husband or a father, and it was about me having my independence. And I come from a very dysfunctional alcoholic family, and a very controlling family. And for me, in a sense, I knew in a way I had to buy my freedom, and this was the way to do it. And since I've grown the company, I've also come up against other issues in business of chauvinism and dealing with very difficult situations, particularly with men. And so when my company got to a certain size, I really wanted to do something specifically for women. And I wanted to do something to empower women and for women who didn't have a voice. And I read an article in the Times in London about the epidemic of AIDS in Africa and what was happening to the women out there. And 1 in 3 women in their lives in Africa will be raped, and this is how the disease is spreading. And also, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation going around to the tribal healers, and what they're telling men is that if they sleep with a virgin, that they will be able to rid themselves of AIDS. So this is resulting in the rape of very young children. One particular case we had was a 6-month-old infant, and another a 3-year-old little girl. And at that time when I read this, my daughter was 3. And I thought, if I looked at my daughter and I thought, my God, I would kill the person who did that to my daughter. So I thought, how am I going to go about this? How am I going to start? And I knew that Elton John had an AIDS foundation, but really they were very focused on men's issues. So I went to him and I said, if I raise some money, can I raise money and put it in a separate pot, and we research and find ways to help women in Africa? And he said, absolutely, I want to back you all the way on this, because I don't think there is enough awareness around women. So I've done a couple of projects, one called 4 Inches, where we took beautiful pictures of women in their Jimmy Choos and auctioned them at Sotheby's, and sold a coffee table book, which raised $3 million. And then recently did another one called Project PEP, where we bought a drug called post-exposure prophylaxis. And this drug is incredibly important because if someone has been exposed to HIV and they take the drug within 72 hours, they will not get the disease, they will get rid of the disease. But it's really about how to reach these women and get them into the clinics. With the money with Elton, what we've done is we've built rape shelters across South Africa called the Simalela Centers. And under one roof now. We try and treat a woman completely holistically from every angle, not just medical attention, but we give them therapy, counseling, and ongoing aftercare. We help them with legal advice, because also what happens if they call the police, they'll usually end up being raped by the police. So we give them legal advice, medical therapy, aftercare, and we help treat their children as well from the abuse. So really, they can come. This is a lifeline where they can come, and it's really the only lifeline they've got. So really, that is, our two big initiatives of Jimmy Choo, and our focus now going forward is really to help women, to inspire women, and I'd love to inspire women to get out and to work and be independent and do more.
I would say my journey to feed began when I was a student. I became an honorary spokesperson for the UN World Food Program, about 7 years ago. And through that, I've had the opportunity to travel to many different countries and see their operations firsthand. And the program I really fell in love with was their school feeding program, which feeds, as we do here in America, kids who can't afford a lunch meal get a subsidized lunch meal. And abroad, the World Food Program feeds kids in school. And the brilliance of this is not only does it guarantee that they get a nutritious, kind of warm lunch meal that's nutrient-packed a day, but it incentivizes them to go to school, and it incentivizes parents to send their kids to school. And this is especially relevant in countries like Afghanistan and many other countries around the world where women's and girls' education isn't valued. So even, if you could afford to send your girl to school, you might not. But in this case, the World Food Program has kind of this bribery type program, which I'm sure they would not want me to call it that, but it is that. So if a girl attends school for, let's say, a month straight, she has a good attendance record, then the school will send her home with extra food rations to take to her family. So the family has extra incentive to actually educate their girls. But one thing that really struck me on all my travels around the world in Asia, Latin America, and Africa, as we've heard, is that these situations are so sad, and these people are struggling. It's such an uphill battle, and their strength and their community spirit is amazing. But what I found so heartbreaking as a woman, and as a woman who, the fact that I was fed and educated and had all the advantages in the world was never a question to me, to see that women in developing countries around the world really have it the worst. Women eat last, girls eat last, women work the hardest, women are the world's farmers, men I visited Chad, and first I visited with the men who were sitting very nicely in the shade, having tea, playing games, and then I was taken out to meet their wives, who were of course laboring in the field. And it is literally that cut and dry, black and white. Women are the laborers, they are next to nothing. Men are the leaders of the village. And it's just heartbreaking, because you imagine yourself as a woman, and you could have been born in, I could have likely been born in Chad, but I was lucky enough to be born in America at the time I was, born. And I think that's sort of the philosophy that, anyways, affected me, and I kind of went on to write my senior thesis about it, inspired by women like Somali Mom, who herself was sold into a brothel and now has rescued many women, her Somali Mom Foundation. There's so many of these amazing, amazing women out there. And beyond the amazing women, there's so many sort of heroes who I've met. A woman, she walked all the way to this refugee camp in Chad and then gave birth to twins. I mean, you can't even imagine, the dirt hut she gave birth in after walking and losing her family and finally making it to this really desolate kind of refugee camp. But on a positive note, I came away from all this really wanting to give back and help and do it in a tangible, meaningful way. And all the while I had been modeling and really interested in the fashion world and loved design and very inspired by many of the women up here and wanting to do more. And I look at fashion really as kind of a wearable, amazing way to express yourself, express your consciousness, express your values. So with that thought in mind, and with the reusable bag movement starting up, I wanted to create a bag to feed children around the world in school. So the first bag I designed was a Feed One bag that feeds one child in school for 1 year. And that was in 2013. 2005. In 2007, we started selling them. We've been able to partner with Whole Foods Market, Barnes & Noble, Gap more recently, HSN, and many different sort of amazing companies that are wanting to give back and support feeding kids or philanthropy, but maybe don't know how. So I think why people responded to the feed bag is it gives people a tangible way to get involved. So each bag has a number on it, and that signifies the impact the bag is having. So the Feed One bag has a 1 because it feeds one kid in school for 1 year, and each bag follows the same. So it's not percentage of profits or proceeds, like it's a really clear thing that consumers can get behind and say, I did this by buying this product. And I think that's something that people really responded to. We continue to make good products that feed the world, and the result has been we've been able to give over 60 million school meals to kids around the world through the sale of bags. And it happened from a very small, simple idea. So I would encourage everyone who has these sort of small, simple ideas to do what they can. Thank you.
I want women to feel great about themselves. That's the joy of fashion. That's what these ladies bring to all of us. Every single day we're producing something that makes women feel great. But how to use that to part of the bigger good? In fact, when I saw Queen Rania, and she said to me, just as I was moving from Marie Claire magazine to Bazaar, oh, why have you gone and done that? I love Marie Claire. Think of all the social issues that you were able to do then. And you're going to a fashion magazine. Well, here's the thing is I don't think that those two are exclusive. You can do, you can be loving fashion, but you also can have a social conscience. When I moved to Harper's Bazaar, I sent my first issue down on September the 11th. And one of the first things that I did was I actually reached out to the fashion community, and we have examples of how caring the fashion community can be in the women that are on this panel today. And what happened was each designer produced a limited edition, either handbag or belt or something that we, of course, as women would adore to buy, but also all the proceeds then went to the World Trade Center. And it's just one example, one tiny example of the work that the women on this panel have been doing and continue to do. Because we all know fashion is all about feeling good. But there's no better way of feeling good than doing good.
I think the best way to access your philanthropic heart is really caring for yourself. And once you understand that which is in yourself, it's that which is in around you. Your children, your friends, your family, and it's right next door. And it's just giving a cup of something. And then all of a sudden you find that extraordinary giving is something that you've gotten. And it doesn't have to be a large thing. It could be something so small. And it really is within inside of you, is to find that space and that place that you can find, that you can feed yourself and also give to somebody else.